Now, several efforts have been made to get a reboot of the Brandon Lee cult classic, The Crow. However, the project, for one reason or another, has never gotten off the ground, and recently, with Relativity Media going into bankruptcy, the future of the planned reboot has never looked more bleak. But according to The Crow comic creator James O'Barr, the reboot is absolutely going to happen. While on a recent panel, O'Barr said the following: "The company, Pressman Films, that owns The Crow film and TV rights, licensed it to a studio named Relativity. And Relativity made like 100 bad movies and lost money, so now they're in financial trouble. So the producers are just going to take it to another studio if Relativity can't get backing again. It's going to happen. I talked to Pressman Films a couple weeks ago, and they said within 2 or 3 weeks, we should have it placed at a new studio. Because the day Relativity announced they were having financial problems, there were like a dozen other studios that called about getting the Crow property. It definitely will happen." Schnepp, what do you think of O'Barr's comments, and will we actually see a reboot of The Crow?
I think eventually we'll see a reboot of The Crow, especially if they make it like that. Every time I see that Brandon Lee picture, I see Heath Ledger as the Joker now because of like that comparison contrast thing. If you haven't seen the original Crow, you've got to see it. Alex Proyas did a great job directing it. It's a little different than the comic book, but I think it's a fantastic film. And you know what? I mean, The Crow has been around. We've talked about The Crow for years now.
We've literally been talking about it for years.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do believe that eventually The Crow will be made again. It's going to fly again somewhere to some studio, but probably not this year or next year. My guess is 2019 is when we'll see a Crow.
Is it wrong that whenever I see that picture of the Crow, I just think of Sting, the professional wrestler? Is that bad? You know what? These comments remind me a lot of, well, okay, let's look at the history, the track record. Guess what, O'Barr? And all the power to O'Barr. Like, no problem with O'Barr at all. But guess what? The problems with this Crow remake did not start with Relativity, who, by the way, you were singing their praises when they were in the studio doing their thing. Now that they've gone bankrupt, you've decided to kick a horse while it's down. Oh, they made like 100 bad movies. That's a pretty douchey thing to say for the company that was going to make your movie for you. But whatever, I digress. But him going on about, oh no, it's definitely happening. It reminds me a lot of Tom Arnold from about 7 years ago. So, True Lies 2 is coming. I'm telling you, I had lunch with James and I had lunch with Arnold, and I'm telling you it's coming. It also reminds me a little bit of Peter Jackson. Remember when the studios pulled out of financially backing Halo? And like for a week, Peter Jackson was, we have other studios lined up to do it. Don't worry, everybody, it's coming. And that never happened. Look, I do think that you're right. The Crow is just too well-known of a property, and it's too respected of a property that at some point somebody's got to give it a shot. But the problems here did not start with Relativity. Remember, Tom Hiddleston was going to be the Crow. Oh, everybody, we were talking about that in 2013.
Right.
Everything's great and wonderful. We're doing the Crow. Yeah. And then he pulled out. And then it's like Alexander Skarsgård. Oh, he's going to be the Crow. That went nowhere. Then, it's going to be Luke Evans. And then he's gone.
And before Hiddleston, it was Bradley Cooper.
At least he was rumored. I don't know. He might have been actually signed on. And then I think that dude who played the half-faced guy, Jack Houston, thank you. He was on, and then he left. So there are problems here with this production that I'm sure people are not talking about. And it wasn't just with Relativity losing their financing. So how close we are to this actually happening? For all we know, they start shooting tomorrow. It's going to be in theaters January 2016, which would be great. I am looking to a reimagined Crow. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see it. But this has been littered with problems. The financial problems with Relativity was not the start of the downward spiral. Anyway, Mark, how do you see all this?
I think the Crow reboot is going to happen, and I'm looking forward to going to see it right after I leave Star Wars land, because that's probably going to be in existence before the new Crow movie. Now, having said that, James O'Barr is saying what he should be saying to a point, because he is the creator. This is his baby. So you want a guy to say, no, it's definitely going to happen, in the same way that I want RG3 to say he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Is he? No, but he should believe that. However, it gets to a point when you're using hyperbole a little bit too much. It's like saying Relativity's made like 100 bad movies, and then as soon as they were in financial trouble, about a dozen studios called you that day when they heard about Relativity. And by the way, if Relativity made 100 bad films, then they weren't making good decisions at the same time they picked up your property. So don't crap on the studio that much. Having said all that,
they made 100 bad films in a row, and they were about to do mine.
That's right. We were about to be 101, man. So I want to see The Crow. I want to see it done right. I love the version with Brandon Lee. It went pretty south right after that because they were doing direct-to-video sequels, like it was a Disney property or something. And then all of a sudden, it came back, and you had all these rumors forever, and people were getting tired of the rumors. You think people were tired of the Fantastic Four movies? People were getting tired of the Crow rumors, and they're just like, you know what? I'm just done with this as a movie because I'm sick of getting my hopes up and then getting let down again. Eventually, the studio will pick it up. They will get it made. I hope they do it right.
Yeah, and I don't want it to sound like we're sitting here crapping on O'Barr because I think all of us at this panel, we would agree. We want success for this guy. We want this to work. We want to see this movie on screen. It's just let's stop talking about it and let's just see it.
You know what I'd say too is like, and this happens a lot with comic book creators. They're not making the films, so they're not responsible for the films. Like Rob Liefeld has for years talked about a Youngblood movie that still has never manifested. It's just gone from
no. I heard him say it's definitely going to happen.
That's right, just last week. But I mean, but then at the same time, he's been talking about a Deadpool movie forever, and then this really didn't even have anything to do with him. Either the machinations of who were making the trailer, they released it, and now it's a movie. So he's got a Deadpool film happening. That's a character he created. So I mean, these things do happen, but usually it has nothing to do with the person who did the comic book. They just have to kind of wait till a production company actually makes the film. Usually that's how it works. So I know O'Barr is more involved with this Crow.
Yeah, he is. He's always stayed very involved.
Yeah,
with
so
it,
especially with this newer version, he's like, this is going to be the closest to his comic book ever made. So that's why I think he's taking it a little more personally because he was probably on, at least on the, not the set, but the pre-production, you know, he was very involved in that. So to see that crumble, I can see why he would make these sour statements, but you know.